everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today we have an exciting special guest. How are you today, Bruce?
I'm great. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the culinary world?
It's a long story from a long time ago. So I grew up in northern New Jersey, and I was 13 and decided my dad's friend was opening up a pizzeria in town in Paramus, and where I grew up. And so he said, "Hey, I'm looking for help. Obviously cheap labor, kids. I was thinking I was making 350 an hour at the time." And I fell in love with it. I spent 2 years working there, and got to start out like doing prep and making sandwiches and those kind of things, and then worked my way up to actually making pies. And I was like 14 years old, and felt like I had a knack for it. I love the camaraderie. That it was, especially in Jersey, a whole lot of sarcasm flying around all the time, and you know, and I still remember like listening to when Howard Stern first got started on the radio. Yeah, while we were playing like while we were working, and it's just one of those things where, it just brings me way back. And then it just kind of morphed from there for me. Went from one place to next, and I was 18. I started working for Marriott. Um, Decided to go to culinary school in New Jersey, and got accepted to CIA. I didn't want to spend $80,000 on culinary school that I didn't have, so I went to a local community college in Jersey City that had an incredible cooking program. It was strict, it was tough, it was mostly hands-on. It's one of those things where class starts at 7, they lock the door at 7, and if you're not in, you're out, and that's it. You know, and you miss like I think it's like if you miss like 10 classes, you're out of the program. And so
Wow.
that's how real life is, right? I mean, or at least it was anyway. When I was coming up, not so much anymore. Now it's just an apology. Sorry, I'm late. But we can talk about that another time. And I just kind of felt my way through it, and the more I got into it, and the deeper I got into it, the more I fell in love with it, and decided, I'm an adventurous kind of guy, and so one of the things I wanted to do was if I worked somewhere, I wanted to learn everything there. So when I worked in the Marriott Hotel, I worked in banquets, and then I worked in chef, and I tried to work in all the restaurants, and I worked in the bake shop, and I just wanted to soak up all that knowledge and get really good, become an incredibly well-rounded chef. Um, and found myself in Chicago. Moved out when I could out of Jersey, and found myself in Chicago. My if I drew you a map of my travels throughout my life, living in different places, it was crazy. It would be like loop de loops and crisscrosses, and because I was in Chicago, I went back to New York. I met David Burke when I was in Chicago. I was the sous chef at Spiaggia, which is a Michelin star restaurant in Chicago, and then met David Burke, and I went back and I worked at Park Avenue Cafe in New York City with him back in the day when in the early '90s when it was one of the top 20 restaurants, and from there, I got offered a job in Santa Fe. Then I went back to Chicago. Then I moved to Cleveland. Then I ended up working for a corporate restaurant group because I felt like the one thing that was missing in my career was the business side of things, and the business and leadership and running a restaurant with 400 seats, which I never want to do ever again, by the way. But the knowledge was priceless, and I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now successfully without all the learning that sort of skill set, flexing the weaker muscles that I had. I still have sometimes. It's definitely not my favorite part of the job. I'm a creative chef. I like being hands-on. I like creating. I like training, teaching, coaching. I love mentoring people and watching people grow and change their lives. And um, but these things are necessary if you want to stay in business, right? So,
Right.
um, I effectively learned all that, and I still have to practice all that because it's still not my strongest suit. Um, so, I have a great partner that is. And, fast forward to now, I was in LA for 10 years prior to living in Las Vegas, and I had a restaurant called Union there, uh, which was very successful. It's still there. We had also opened a pasta bar inside the Grand Central Market, making fresh pastas and cooking some Jersey food, chicken parm, meatball parm subs and baked ziti and lasagna. And it was great. And decided that some point in time that LA just wasn't for me. And so I had an opportunity to come to Vegas, wanted to open an Italian restaurant. And my buddy out here, James Trees, has a very successful restaurant. He has a bunch of restaurants now, called Esther's Kitchen, which sort of pioneered the neighborhood where we're in, the Arts District, where, it was really bad, sketchy neighborhood when he opened there. He took a chance on it and it worked out for him. And he's now moving into, actually, the end of this month, into a space that's like 10 times the size because he's busy open to close and people can't get in. And I'm really proud of him. But, he took me around and I said, I want to open sort of a Jersey Italian place here. He's like, no. He's like, you need to open a barbecue spot. And because he's like, barbecue there's a deficit for barbecue in Las Vegas. There's some barbecue here, but not enough. And so I had spent a couple of years with Dave Grohl helping him with his charity barbecue project, Backbeat Barbecue, where I fell in love with it. I didn't get good at it, but I fell in love with it. And there were some things that I was good at. I was great at cooking smoking beef ribs. But I had a lot to learn, and I still do. And I'm a student of it. And barbecue is incredibly humbling. And when you're dealing with a big, basically a big iron tube that you're heating with wood in the elements, and season to season, day to day, you're dealing with all kinds of uncontrollable factors. Is the wood seasoned properly? Is it too dry? Does somebody keep opening and closing the door? What's the moisture content of the briskets? Like, there's just a million things that can go wrong with barbecue. It's definitely not a set it forget it thing like a Traeger at your house. And so it's a constant learning process. I'm about 4 years into barbecue. I'm still in love with it. I'm teaching it, at least what I know about it, and I'm always learning. I've been fortunate enough to become friends with a lot of the guys that are in Austin, um, and also like Daniel Castillo at Heritage Barbecue in Southern California. Alex Munoz in LA, he has Moose Craft Barbecue. William Dumas, who is his nickname is the Sausage Sensei, and he travels the world teaching people how to make sausage. And I have him on my speed dial, and if I need help. Um, and every time I get to cook with one of these guys, I learn something new. I see something new, and I'm like, no, that's why I've been struggling with that. And so it's been one of those things where um, it's exciting to me. I love learning and learning like this, and it's one of the cool things that I found is, that there's a lot of similarities between the Italian food I used to cook and still do sometimes, and have some exciting things coming up that are going to marry the two worlds. But um, between that artisanal Italian food and artisanal, barbecue is essentially artisanal. You have to, for me, the definition of artisanal is food that you have to craft with your heart and your soul, and you have to understand the mechanics of it, but without the heart and soul of it, it's just food. And there's a lot of similarities in the way you execute these types of cuisine, and they're all rooted in tradition. And I've been fortunate enough to become good friends with guys like John Bates from Interstellar Barbecue, who's number 2 on the top 50 list. Evan Leroy from Leroy and Lewis, who's number 5, and a bunch of guys like that. And I get to cook with them, and I get to learn from them. I get to grow with them. And, they encourage me, and it's just really, really exciting. Um, and so now, Soul Belly is sort of this ever evolving sort of concept. It's sort of steamrolling where, we focus on the basics. We focus on making sure the brisket's solid. We focus making sure that our pulled pork is amazing, but then we make fresh pasta for our mac and cheese and we top it with Parmesan chicharron crumbs. And so it's more of this new school barbecue concept where you take tradition, it's like Massimo Bottura in Italy. He took traditional Italian food, which is like, you don't mess with tradition in Italian food. You don't. This is the way it's done. This is how you make, tortellini bolognese. And it's the only way. If it's not in Parmesan Brodo, it's not tortellini bolognese. And that's it. And you suck, you know?
You're right.
And, and, um, and barbecue is kind of the same way, because it's been made that way hundreds of years in all these different families based on how they cook and what kind of wood is nearby in their yard, and all those elements. And so new school barbecue guys like myself, we take that and sort of use that as a guideline, but we flip it on its head a little bit, and we do some cool things. And I don't do like silly hyper creative things with barbecue, but we have a very special pork belly where we work closely with Garrison Brothers Distillery in High Texas, and the process of making bourbon, they take the oak barrels, and they burn them with a torch, and then they fill it with the juice, and that sits for God knows how long, sometimes years, sometimes less, sometimes more. And when Garrison Brothers dumps their barrels, when you dump the barrel, all these little pieces of barrel char come out. So it's basically like charcoal that's been soaking in incredible bourbon for years. And they box it up, and they sent it to me because they brought it to me and said, "Hey, could you do something with this?" And I said, "I'm gonna figure it out." So what we do is we take it and we make it into a powder, and then mix it with cocoa powder and espresso for our rub for our pork belly. And then so it's how all these bitter notes, and then we balance that with sort of a sweet bourbon glaze with mustard and orange juice and rosemary. And and the way we treat it, I've been saying a lot lately, barbecue is this manly thing. You got to get in there and you're burning wood, and you're handling these big giant pieces of meat, but you have to do it with finesse. And you have to do it with a light
Yeah.
touch in some cases. And our pork belly for sure is one of those things, because I want it to become this incredible thing that you look at and you taste, that you're like, I've never had anything like this before. The texture is supple and it melts in your mouth. And so there's certain elements of barbecue that you absolutely need to treat with finesse. You know, barbecue is like I said, a very uncontrolled environment, and proper fire management is easily 95% of great barbecue. If you don't manage your fire properly, your barbecue is not going to be great. And that's the end of the story. You know, um, for me, I don't like a lot of smoke on my food, and we've all had very, very, very smoky barbecue, and I think maybe it's a personal preference. I just don't like it. I don't like tasting it 4 hours later, and for me, also the smoke will overpower the flavor of the actual meat itself, and for me, the smoke should enhance the flavor. It should kiss and season it, and so that's all about fire management, wood selection. I use post oak or almond wood, and they're very smoothly, even burning woods that don't have a very harsh flavor to them. And so, I'll use mesquite in a wood grill because it's hot and it imparts great quick flavor. But if I'm cooking a brisket for 16 hours or 14 hours, I don't want that all over my brisket. I want you to taste the meat, and I just have a different approach to it. Competition barbecue, for example, there's certain things they look at: smoke ring, bark, all those things. I could care less about smoke ring. If it happens, cool. It's naturally going to happen, but it's not like I'm looking for a certain amount of it, because I would rather, for me, and this is again my own personal thing. I don't judge anybody. I don't say it's bad or good. I just say this is my own personal flavor. Is when you have a lot of smoke ring and a lot of bark, you're eating dry ass meat. And
Yeah.
I, I want juicy meat. I want it to melt in your mouth. I want it to be sexy and supple. And and that's what our brisket is, and it's still meaty, but it's like nothing else, and I get excited every time I'm carving and I cut into a brisket and I open it up. It's like when I had Union, I served porchetta on my menu, and every time I'd slice that, and it would crunch on the outside, and you get in the middle and it's just juicy and beautiful. I get excited, and I still do, you know, because I get excited for the people that are going to get to eat that. right?
Yeah, I've seen some videos that were up on YouTube of you showing people how you guys smoke your meats and control the temperatures and how you carve them, and you know, just the way you would carve them and see all the juice, and then how you explain not to press on the meat and push all that goodness out of it.
That drives me crazy. I mean, I know, I get it. It's like an Instagram moment. It's like crushing a perfectly cooked runny egg over a sandwich, right? But you squeeze all the juice and the fat out of it. Like now what's left is just dry ass meat, you know?
Right?
But I get it. It's like it's a sexy thing to look at, you know? But it's just again, it's just not for me. It's not something I want to do.
Right. So I do have a couple questions for you as far as getting once you got into the
Dude,
culinary world and started.
that tattoo is rad. Lift your arm up
Oh,
again. Let me
thank
see
you,
that. That's cool, man. The
thank you.
jigsaw puzzle. What does that represent?
It
That
is.
jigsaw puzzle.
It was just something different.
It's super cool, man.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good. I'm covered in tattoos, so
Yeah, I'm a chef. Of
that's
course I
awesome.
am.
Right. So, in your journeys to get where you are, I was looking at some of your Instagram stories and pictures and things like that. And how did you get linked up with some of these bigger name chefs that, have gone through what you're trying to go through to be a big success, which you have been, like Guy and a few of the other people that are out there.
It's just, the first show I did was Chopped in like 2014, I think, or maybe earlier than that. And, I won that show. And then you kind of get the itch. It's like getting a tattoo, you want more. So I got the itch, and then I did Night Fight. I won that. I beat Stefan Richter, who was on Top Chef, an arrogant dude. And I put him down, and it was exciting. And everybody was excited that I put him down too and shut him down. But I've won most of the shows that I did, and it just garners attention. But I got involved with the Food and Wine Festival, so like Pebble Beach Food and Wine. Funny guy, Fieri story. I tell you, the first time I met him, uh, we were at Pebble Beach Food and Wine. I was cooking an Italian lunch at Peppoli, which is the restaurant there, and they had this beautiful wood fire cooking suite in the dining room. And I was cooking like wood fire roasted carrots and all these different things, antipasti vegetables, and I had porchetta and the rotisserie. And I remember I took one off and I turned around and I set it on the counter, wrapped to cool, and I could put another one on. And I turned back around and there's Guy Fieri standing there grabbing a piece of chicharron off my porchetta. And I said, I don't care who you are, get your hands off my porchetta. And I think he really respected that because I'm like, you want a piece, you can have it, but ask me. First of all, introduce yourself because I don't know you. And second of all, he just laughed, and we sort of became friends since then. And that's just the Jersey boy in me. I'm like, don't touch my meat without asking. You get slapped with a wooden spoon if you do that stuff. And so, but Guy is incredible. He's such a giving person, and he's done incredibly well for himself. And actually, we have Tournament of Champions is airing on February 7th, which I'll be on. Um,
Nice.
and, yeah. So I doing those shows through Top Chef. Top Chef took it out of me. Top Chef was an incredible experience. Did so many amazing things for my career, and it also beat me down a little bit. It was a long, growing process. My son was born when I was there, so that was a little tough. I did really well on the show, and I'm happy about how I did. And I learned a lot, and I made a lot of great friends. Um, but I spent a good year and a half after doing Top Chef traveling and doing every food and wine festival I could because I feel like when you do those shows, you have to put yourself out there if you want to build your brand and build your recognition. You have to go and do the wine festivals and the food festivals and anything you can do where people can meet you and talk to you face to face. And um, I felt like it was a really important thing that I did, and that's how I met Guy. And I also living in LA, like I cooked a lot with Jonathan Waxman and Nancy Silverton doing events, and I was put together with all these people to do dinners in people's homes for charity and things like that. And I enjoy doing it. I make myself easy to work with, so that people want to work with me on those things. And but I love to collaborate because I mean, what an incredible experience to cook at home for 10 people with Jonathan Waxman and Nancy Silverton and Duff Goldman, who, Duff now is one of my best friends. And, we play in a all chef rock band, um,
I saw
cover
that.
band. And yeah, called Foie Gras. And I miss that guy moving to Vegas, but we played in Vegas a couple times. And, so it's just about, really, it's about putting yourself out there, and embracing these people and for what they, it's for their friendship and for their knowledge and for their encouragement.
Yeah, see, it's really cool to see that you put in the hard work, it goes a long way, and it truly is hard work, and just, listening to you tell your story about how you got from the beginning to where you are now, it seems like, unlike most people who, are in a career, they're not really passionate about what they do, but you're very passionate about what you do, and
In this industry, you have to be, otherwise there's no point in working this hard. I mean, I still work my ass off, and do I want to keep doing it? No, I want to spend some more time with my kid, and I want to have some more balance in life. And it comes in waves, but I'm a responsible business owner. I'm a responsible leader. And when I have to be there, if we're short staffed or it's busy or people need help and need my assistance, I got to be there and I want to be there for them. That's how you grow a great, incredible culture, which, for years I was far from perfect at, and I'm still not perfect at it, but I'm better. I'm better at it, and I'm continuing to educate myself on being a better leader, a more inspiring leader, somebody that motivates people, and includes people and loves to collaborate with people. And that's the way of the future, and it's how I feel good. I feel so much better about that than going into a restaurant every day and beating on people, because that's how I was taught. And you're a chef, and you're not going to get results unless you beat on people, emotionally, of course, not physically.
right. Yeah, and you're not wrong. I mean, in most places of business, whether you're the owner or whether you're, just working with people that are employed there, you spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your own family in most cases, sometimes more.
Yeah, and that's a problem, right? I mean, and that's the old school mentality. The new school mentality is, you know, I don't work my shifts 80 hours a week. I don't. They get 2 days off a week. If you can get it done in 8 hours, you get it done in 8 hours, but you need a solid 8 hours. Get your work done. And if it takes 12 hours, sometimes because man, there's days where this week, this last weekend, for example, I mean, we're short staffed, and I was opening this I opened a restaurant. I carved for a busy lunch, and then I flipped and I had to be the closing smoker. And for me to, if I was like, I'm out of here, you guys deal with it, like that's messed up. And I know that happens. I know it happens out there. But that's not who I am, and that's not how I'm going to grow a great culture or get people that actually want to work with me. And it's all about setting a great example. And being an inspiring, dynamic leader. And that's the one thing for me. Cooking has become second nature to me, and coming up with ideas for the most part is second nature to me. If you give me a table full of ingredients, I can put them together. I feel like pretty well because I understand food. But the leadership piece, the culture piece is difficult. It's difficult to navigate sometimes, because you're not dealing with ingredients, you're dealing with human beings, and you have to. Somebody taught me this, and I'll never forget this, and I preach this now. We are in a people business. Not, food and beverage is just the medium, but it is a people business. And the first most important people is my staff. They are first and most
Yeah.
important, because without them, I don't have a restaurant, I don't have guests, and I can't inspire them to want to take great care of our guests. Tips and money can't be the only reason why you do something. Otherwise they're just kind of putting on a show. I want it from their heart. I have a soulful barbecue place. It's called Soul Belly, for God's sakes. I have a soulful barbecue place, and I want people to feel that energy, that passion from everybody that's working there. And the only way I can do that is inject it and instill it and motivate them and be an inspiring leader. And it's not always hearts and rainbows, and I'm far from perfect. I have my moments. We all do. And but everybody's more willing to forgive, if they know that you're a real person on the level with them.
Yeah, and I agree. In the business that I'm in, I'm in the automotive retail side of things. I run a retail store here, and it's one of those things where you're right. Everybody's going to have a bad day, but at the end of the day, it's what kind of person are you to the people that work for you? Are you the type of
Yep.
person to jump in and help them with whatever they need, or are you the type of
Mhm.
person, like you said, to just go, it's 4 o'clock, I'm out. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, do you put your team in front of a firing line, or you take them with you past the goal line? You know what I mean? And are they blocking for you? Are they running behind you? And that's I want a team that's blocking for me. I want a team that's surrounding me, because they want to, not because I'm telling them they have to. And that's a task. That is a lot. But it's what I genuinely mean the things that I say to the staff, and my actions and all those things are genuine with everybody, good or bad. It's
Right.
genuine.
And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about is your neighbor or the person that works for you, they're going to need help every once in a while, even if it's just the small things. And
Yep,
you never know when you'll be in the same position that they are. Hopefully, knock on wood, that never happens to anybody, but you just never know.
no doubt, man, no
Um,
doubt.
you know, and one of the things that I like to do at the end of these episodes is I like to ask people kind of, three things they're grateful for. Because, at the end of the day, that's what I look at to kind of keep perspective on my life in general.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'll say this. I am so grateful for my son. He's the reason why I do what I do. And I have a giant mural of him up in my restaurant, so that I look up and it reminds me every day. Because everything's for him. You know what I mean? I'm already getting teary. It's funny every time, like I do a cooking show, they always bring up. I'm like, God damn it! Now I'm gonna start crying. They're like, that's what we wanted. I'm like, no, But um, I'm grateful for my health. I've spent since December 2022, I've lost 113 pounds.
Wow.
I've changed my lifestyle. I focused um, on myself, because in this business you focus on everybody else, and it's that whole idea when the safety message on the plane, you always put your mask on first and then your children, and there's a reason why they say that, so it's like you have to put your mask on first, because if you don't put your mask on first, you're not good enough for everybody else, you're not good for everybody else, you're not the person you should be. And so I've decided to put my mask on, and I worked hard at it. I lost about 60 pounds on my own through the end of August of last year, and through intermittent fasting and eating better, but not great still, and working out a little bit. And then I hooked up with a guy that I know, and who's a trainer, uh, nutritionist, and I've I'm down now from 300 pounds down to 187 pounds, and but getting jacked, and feeling great and feeling alive again. And the best part of all of it is I've inspired so many people because I talk about it, and I'm using social media for the right reasons, and it's spreading this message, and at least 3 dozen or more people have signed up with this guy because of it. And to get these messages from people, like the little ones from, like, I went to the gym this morning. I didn't want to go, but I saw your video, and I'm like, screw it, I'm getting up and I'm going. And they did
Yeah.
it, and they were excited to tell me about it. And to the people that are like, I lost 60 pounds because you helped me get started, and that is touching. And that's all I want to do. I love helping people. I love inspiring people. Um, and I'm excited about my journey as well. And I feel good, and actually feel pretty great.
Meanwhile,
Name brand bars and body washes you rub on your skin are classified by the FDA as synthetic detergent. It's not even real soap. Start treating your body to the natural, nourishing, lathery goodness of Dr. Squatch soap. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive.
That smells really good.
Smells like my guy's cologne.
Okay.
It smells really good, yeah.
Smells
Really
good?
sexy. Oh, that smells really good.
I would use it, but like if a guy smelled like that too, I'd be like, ugh.
If my man was wearing this, I would be all over him.
it's natural. It's kind of like being in a forest.
I would use this on myself.
Way better than like the regular store-bought soap.
I'm talking about natural, nourishing, cold-pressed, hand-cut soap for men. So go to drsquatch.com to feel, smell, and shower like this every day. Our soap is handmade here in America, using a process that's been perfected over thousands of years. It's perfect.
If you happen to be listening to this podcast and you're in the Vegas area, stop by Soul Belly. I mean, unfortunately, I'm on the other side of the country, so it'd be a little difficult for me right now, but there you go.